What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone between? Hooker here, and today we are going into the Day 3 conference for Alt Space. I'm very excited for this meeting. It should be phenomenal. I just jumped into a room. I don't know if I jumped into the wrong room or something like that. There was no one in there, which was a little weird. Or everyone was playing a really good session of hide and go seek, because I saw no one. Did you see anyone? Didn't see anyone. So we're gonna jump back into it and see if I jump to the right room this time. Hopefully, you know, we are. Get it? That was a joke. But hopefully we are though. Oh yeah! I'm in Alt Space. Are you still talking? So this is Alt Space Gaming Tavern. It's a pretty cool space. Literally, it's a pretty cool space. Oh, massive things of ale. But, sorry, I get distracted. Look at all the alcohol. Here, look at it. Look at all this alcohol. This is like, I wouldn't say heaven, but shit. Alcohol Central. Where? No, they're just playing Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know. Oh.
Hey, Rupert. What's up?
Right? I'm totally cheating. I'm seeing what he's doing. Don't touch me. So, does anyone know about the meeting that was supposed to go today, about the new features? I went into the space and there was no one in there.
Oh, yeah, sorry, we were jumping around a little bit, yeah. So, we talked briefly about the SDK, and I can answer any questions that you have there, Gary. But what we had done, sorry, I'm behind you, I just went a quick way. Turn around, yep. Hey. My name's Gavin, I'm one of the directors of engineering here.
Hello.
So yeah, so we were announcing that the SDK was made public, so how people can start to build applications like the D&D app that's on the table there. So that allows us to basically take Three.js content, so it's an open source JavaScript library, and render them as holographic objects inside of VR.
Wow. Can you repeat that last part about taking the objects and rendering them in VR?
Sure, yeah. So the app that's running over there, that tabletop app, is a web page, and so basically you can use Three.js, and the objects that you have in your Three.js scene, when you render them through the AltSpace renderer, will show up as what we call holographic objects inside of VR. Have you done any programming or software development?
Well, I create levels for the Oculus Rift on my own personal time with the Unity engine and whatnot. So that's
nice.
about
Very
the
cool.
extent of my programming knowledge. And I write a little bit of code and whatnot.
Nice. And, you know, as languages go, JavaScript is pretty quick to pick up, and Three.js is pretty straightforward. We don't have any great, like, sort of drag and drop editors yet, so that's one of the things that I hope people can start making with the SDK. But the one thing that we have done is we have this thing called CodePen that we're using. It's a site that people use to make like quick examples on the web. And so it solved one of the most frustrating problems for me when I'm starting a new thing, which is like, where do I put my code? You know, I want to put some logic somewhere and I don't know where to put it. And so the good thing about CodePen is you just pull the thing up there, and you can just literally start changing variables and stuff like that and launching it live. So you'll see that is one of the tiles in the AltSpace browser.
Nice. Sorry if I go quiet for a second. I don't have my headphones in because my headphone jack is broken, so I don't want to hot mic. So if there's a delay on my reply, that's why. Or if I'm looking away, that's why.
Yep, no worries.
No, I think this is really freaking
What do
cool.
you guys? Thanks.
I like the ability that you can take web pages, like you said, and make them into boards and different things like that. I was checking out that little like Flappy Bird looking game where people can like, you know, mess with you while you're playing and things like that. And I thought that was also really neat.
Right. And it's one of these challenges that's it's interesting because like people have not like there hasn't been a need to have web pages that are fully synchronized. There's people who've tried it for things like tech support and stuff like that, so somebody can like watch you as you're, you know, fixing something on or they can sort of walk you through problems on the website. But this is the first time where it actually sort of needs to be synchronized because you have lots of people looking at the same sort of URL at the same time. And that's a good point to make, is that when one of these apps gets beamed to a public browser like that, it is the only thing that's sort of natively synchronized is the URL. So everybody's hitting the same URL. But it's sort of up to the individual developer to make sure that everybody's seeing the same thing on their computers. And to help with that, we've created the synchronization utility that uses a software service called Firebase that is now owned by Google. But it's very nice. It allows for sort of the synchronized key value storage, so you can sort of like set a variable and everybody else gets the same copy of it. And that's really useful in doing things like this, where basically just like synchronizing the positions and existing performance objects. So.
But can you make it so that it synchronizes differently for specific players? Like if you want to hide your poker hand, maybe only the person who's playing that hand can see it?
Definitely.
I think that's possible.
I'll do that, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, there's a couple things on that. So, you know, first of all, you can use whatever synchronization framework you want to do. So if you wanted to write your own Node.js server and do everything, like, you could make it as secure as a normal sort of online poker system. If you just wanted to sort of make it work, so like a lot of the games you'll see in Altspace, they don't really have a lot of rules. So like you look at chess and you can just sort of like drag and move the pieces wherever you want. And we encourage people to do that in general, just because in VR it's a little bit more of like, hey, stop doing that, rather than, you know, restrictive rules.
Yeah, you think it's playful.
Right. But for something like poker, where you'd want only some people to see certain hands, would you want to do that? You know, it's pretty easy to only have something that shows up locally for you. When you actually go to Yeah, with poker, it depends if you'd actually want to make like a scoring system and stuff like that. That's where it gets a little bit tricky, because it might be difficult to do like all of the motions of like dragging the cards and stuff like that. If you didn't want to like actually have game logic in there, so to speak, it'd be basically as easy as just like your local JavaScript instance only has your cards, and then like when you mix them down, then it synchronizes them.
I'm asking because of the two games in the developer portal are poker and battleships.
Oh,
so
that's right.
How would you want those done? I mean,
right.
I could make a battleships game that you can pick up the pieces and just put them everywhere and play by your own rules, just like you do in real life. But
yeah. Personally, if I was making it,
right? What do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want? Do you want a real life analog, or do you want to toss in more computer rigid rules? And it's a really good question on how you want to do it. I don't know if there's a right answer for that. Do you want it to be fluid like real life, or do you want it like a chessboard on a computer game where I take the piece vanishes? You know, it's a tough question.
Yeah. And I will point out that those two projects are Bruce's favorites that he wants to see. But anybody can submit a project on there, and it's a good place to sort of organize around. You can like submit concept art and plans and like add members and stuff like that. So I highly recommend, if anybody either wants to work on a project or wants to see something done, just go ahead and add a project in there. I think everybody should be able to do that. If not, correct me. And yeah, again, you know, for that, it could be as simple as just like, don't, like, everybody, all the cards are up at the same time, but just like, don't go and wander around to their side of the table. Right? And that's as close as you can get.
Kind of like real life.
Yeah,
Just like real life.
We just restrict player movement for poker.
What's that?
It would make a restriction when they play poker, so they can't move.
Yeah, you could also,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of ways.
I'll have to hire bodyguards.
I kind of wish there was a step function to, like you sit in a chair and you just click on it or something like that.
No, it's
Oh,
the same
yeah.
guy, you just change it out.
I would agree with
Is
that.
that something you're looking into?
I don't know.
Now, what is so yeah, I'm curious. Like, what? And so it's definitely something that we've talked about. Is it mostly like changing the position, or is it like the interactable objects in general, or like what is the most important thing about that game?
Just like it would like kind of anchor you to a certain position, and like say like you won't be like wandering around while you're watching a show or something like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know why it's an issue for me either, but for some reason, like we're here, we're having this discussion, and I'm sitting in a chair physically in my office with my headset on. But for some reason, it's just odd for me to know that I am standing in the virtual world when really I should be sitting while I'm watching you present.
That makes sense. So just a little more comfortable because it matches real life a little bit more. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can make a conference table for chatting maybe. That would be easier to
This is a conversation.
measure of sitting down.
Yeah.
No.
We have a conference table in one of the rooms, but I think it's a standing conference table.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. Oh, it looks like we got a little line of giants here going on.
Just marching in.
Nice. And so yeah, so all these spaces are, they're open. You can make, so like, if you wanted to run a D&D game, you can create a private event with any of these spaces as a space type. So I think the one for this is admin gaming. So if you wanted to run a D&D game, just Pathfinder or whatever, I say D&D because that's what's talking about, but you can go ahead and create your own event there, invite your friends, and nobody should be able to join. Yeah, I think you can also make public events now. All right, guys. I'll answer a couple.
Yeah.
Where do you go?
It's one of the admins. No, it's over there.
It's well.
Tell control. Get you
You need to shine it. Yeah, you gotta be shining at the glass.
I used to be an adventurer like you.
And I took an arrow to the knee.
Right. My days are over.
Oh my gosh, RPing would be fun.
Yes.
I'm gonna be a
But
bartender.
I'm also excited to see if any. I'm not playing any MMOs right now, but I imagine back in like
I don't think so.
days when I had strong connections with guildmates, that like having a guild tavern hall like this where we could sort of meet up before and after.
Yeah, that's nice.
Like an
Yeah, show after parties would be awesome too. Actually,
Yeah, there you go.
You have your themed room for whatever you're watching on the screen, and the room is themed to that show. That would be fantastic.
Right.
What if?
looks like a snake coming out of the. That freaked me out there for a second. Oh man, that's great.
I don't really know what to ask.
All right, guys. Well, I have to take off here in a couple minutes. So, is there any other questions before I go, or?
No, that's great, Kevin. Thank you.
All right.
So this
yes, go ahead.
app.
When you're putting apps for this, do you control all the hosts? Does the developer control all the hosts with the assets, textures, models, and stuff?
I don't know.
Yes, yeah. So we have all the examples that we have are CDNs at sdk.alvira.com. So if you're pulling just one of the example assets, you can pull it from there. But other than that, as of right now, it is up to sort of the individual developer to host. I actually forgot to do this, but I was planning on putting a guide. I think you can just use Dropbox or Google Drive now to sort of do temporary hosting. And so I was planning on putting up a guide for that, and I think that works. Sometimes there's tricky cross-domain issues, but that would be something to try if you're just trying to host something quick.
Okay.
Gavin.
Yeah. Yep.
It's Brian from Pierce.
Oh, hey, how's it going, man?
I just joined. I was having PC issues, sorry about that.
No worries, yeah.
One other option for hosting is GitHub. So you can use GitHub pages.
That's a great point.
Cool.
There's also something called rawgit.com, which allows you to host your GitHub stuff on a CDN provided by rawgit.com. So
I have to ask a question real quick.
I think that Rawgit doesn't do Chorus. So I think that
you're right. It's a tricky problem. There's two options with Rawgit. One of them is the live or debug mode, and the other one is CDN mode. In the live mode, it tries to put some assets from GitHub directly, but in the CDN mode, it pulls it all from their CDN.
I see. That's cool. So Brian is the guy who wrote most of the new renderer there, so I can ask him questions as well.
Yep, I'll be here for a bit longer if you need to leave, Gavin.
Yeah, I think there was another one over here. Do you have any questions?
No.
Well, I mean, a little
And
off.
good job with that renderer, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
A little off topic from the
It's
SDK.
awesome. Because it used to be that we only supported very specific file formats, but now I will. So you can basically use most, or at least a large number of the geometry formats that 3JS supports. And if there's any that you run into that are not supported, just let us know. You can post on the answers.altera.com. It's our main forum. But again, so that like text geometry works, all the primitives work, loading in different OBJs and FBXs and stuff like that should work. I don't know if it's an FBX, but yeah.
Yeah, and this is definitely the first initial release, and I'm sure we intend to continue improving the renderer as we go.
Yeah. It is beta, so please forgive us when things inevitably break. Alright guys, well I am going to take here, but feel free to ask Brian or Amber questions while they're still here. Feel free to explore around. You can check out the apps in the gallery, as also the code pen is in the browser there. And please visit us at the developer. Cool. Alright guys, thanks so much. I will
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
We'll catch you next time,
Okay,
hopefully.
see ya.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Alright, so I have a question. I know it's not really SDK related, but in the future with the alt space, are you guys gonna expand the environments almost like PlayStation Home, where you build a huge area with like movie theaters, your own personal living space, and different things like that?
At the moment, I think we kind of want to intentionally constrain the number of spaces we have and how customizable they are. Well, with the SDK now, there isn't really anything limiting the developer from creating a customizable space like that, except for the hard limitations on the size of the app enclosure. But in general, I'm not sure. I don't think we've announced anything around customizing bases or building your own space. But I'm sure we've talked about it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see what happens because I think 3GS is pretty easy to get started with, even for people who haven't developed in JavaScript before. So I think there's a lot of potential there that we haven't seen yet. And we also can see what. Does anyone here have projects in mind already, or?
Like an idea or two.
Yeah, I have a few things I'd like to deliver to this environment type of thing. That sounds so stupid.
We try to be pretty responsive, so there's a Q&A question and answer site on our developer hub. So you can definitely post your questions there and we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. That's probably the easiest way to reach us. I think we have a section for questions and answers and feature requests and issues as well. It's probably, if you do start working on your projects, that's probably the best way to go about getting feedback.
So, as a piece of advice for a wannabe developer, where should we start?
I can't hear.
Where should I start?
I have my mic off.
I think our tutorials and examples that are up on CodePen are a pretty good starting place. If you never played with 3JS or you've never played with JavaScript specifically, those will give you an idea because it's really just a few lines of code, and you can see what's happening immediately in CodePen as you type. So that's a useful way to learn as you're coding. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of 3JS resources out there. 3JS has been around for at least 4 years now, so there's a big community around that. So I'd suggest, I think one of the websites is learning3js.org, possibly, off the top of my head. So yeah, there's a ton of resources for learning 3JS. So that would be one avenue to get started, is just to look up one of those tutorials as well.
I have some experience with Cesar, assembly, and some many years earlier. So I think I have to start over again.
It's really not a huge learning curve. I suspect if you've got any programming experience, you can probably get started within a day or two.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, this is one of the biggest things that I really like about this company is that the developers such as yourself, they are actually taking the time to meet up with the public and other developers and programmers in order just to communicate with your audience. That's a lot of things that you don't see with companies nowadays, especially like Oculus Rift games. Sometimes they try and reach out to developers and I never hear back from them, so it's really cool that you guys are hosting these events and things like that. You know, I know it's virtual, but it's like meeting the developers, the programmers one-on-one.
Yeah, thanks. That's kind of our intention, right? We want to get people started as quickly as possible, so the best way to do that is face-to-face. So these kind of events are definitely useful. And in fact, I'm pretty sure we're planning to do this monthly. So just a Q&A session for any devs who want to drop by and just chat or discuss their issues or their topics. So I think we're going to have a monthly developer event in Altspace, like an official event. So if you check those out as well.
It's nice, and I think that's the reasonable thing to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody wins.
Right, yeah, exactly. One of the other things that we're excited about is that, as I mentioned, 3JS has a very low learning curve. It's a very shallow learning curve. So getting people introduced to our platform and 3JS in general is a quick way to get people excited about VR and producing applications using web technologies. And because the barrier to entry is so low, I think that's going to be sort of a large event where people actually get into it and start developing things.
Yeah, I can also see that.
Sorry, can you repeat that? I can't quite hear you. You're a bit far away.
I'm interested in running 2 all spaces on the same PC.
I'm pretty sure our client doesn't support that. It's probably going to conflict with itself at some point.
That's what it would seem like.
Yeah. Sorry, was there a question?
I was really interested because I was using a laptop, and then also my desktop. But my laptop seems to be heating up and dying now, so it's not really. But I think my desktop could do 2 sessions.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if that's sort of a common use case of having to report project with it.
I guess the reason I'm doing it is I have just working on developing a game, just planning out the SDK, and I want to be able to kind of have 2 different characters interact with each other and testing.
I mean, you may be able to actually pull that off if you open up 2, wait, no, I was thinking if you opened up maybe 2 web browsers and then launch simultaneously, but, no, never mind, sorry.
The only thing that comes to mind is like virtual machines.
Yeah,
This might be a bad idea.
I tried RDP.
Oh, RDP into the same machine?
Yeah, but I mean, from a different machine to that, just to see if it ran to the graphics on it, but it wasn't working for me.
That's an interesting question. I think
The virtual machines, I think I was reading that it's a virtual graphics processor. It's not being used the hardware.
as far as it depends on the machine you're using, but virtual machines should be able to take advantage of hardware acceleration. And I'm pretty sure this is a standard feature nowadays.
I think that's a program you need to run, a Unity program.
Oh, really?
Can use the acceleration of your graphics card on the VM. So maybe you need to run the VM tools.
What is it called?
Yeah.
I think there's a program in virtual machines that unifies the desktop with the virtual machine. I can't remember it right now. But you can use the graphics card full specs on the virtual machine.
I think they're...
I think I have it installed right now, so I might go away and try it.
I think another option is, we should probably look into making it easier for devs to test multiplayer without having multiple machines. So there ought to be a better way of doing that. For example, essentially simulating multiple users using the SDK so that it appears that there are multiple logins, but there's only actually one client with sort of automated bots running around. So that might be an option. It's a good question. I think it's one that we should try to address. I would appreciate it if you asked that question on our Q&A site.
I actually did answer that question.
Oh, you did? Okay, perfect. So then we should try to follow up on that. Yeah, cool.
I guess what you're saying is a good idea. Like if I had like another virtual bot where I could kind of
I'm gonna have to
switch
end
to,
the
like,
session.
remember like your hockey games or football games, you could like kind of point to the other guy and switch over to you call that guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Ah, okay. Because I'm running the window right now.
So you're inside a virtual machine?
No, now I'm on my desktop, but now I'm running the VM.
I guess
I have to install also this.
you would need multiple accounts, so you have to create a new account on
Yeah. That's going to take a while, so...
go back to the event space.
Alright, we're gonna have to sign out.
Yeah, we can do that. Let's go back to the event space.
Alright.
Alright. Alright, everyone's leaving back to the event space. We're going back to that house that we were in. Alright, ladies and gents, that's pretty much the end of the meeting. They were talking about the SDK and the software and things like that. Okay, well. Alright, guys. He's not used to the virtual reality world, so he's over here not doing like it. But before this takes up too much of my memory, we're gonna sign out. He's still getting used to it. Yeah, everyone's switching out. But pretty much the cool things about this is that they were telling me about the new software and how easy it is to learn. And I have a ton of ideas that I definitely am gonna work on for this server and this type of computing and things like that. Because this is the future. I mean, like I said, hanging out with your friends online and things like that. This is the future. So, you know, might as well just get right into it. So before this takes up too much space, because this is gonna take about 7 hours to upload. This is Hooker signing out.